What up, Monday? What up, Monday? What's up, party peeps? Welcome to today. Welcome to this new week. It is a doozy. Welcome, guys, to Storytime with Shari. I'm Shari Alyse. Happy to have you guys here. Say hello to me in the comments because good morning, Chrissy Bear. Say hello to me. Let me know you're here. I like community too. So, as much as I'm giving or spreading and encouraging the joy and sense of normalcy and all this, I like to have fun too. And I like to know who's here. So, welcome to Storytime with Shari. Today, we are going to be reading more from Love Yourself Happy. I started the other day, so we're just going to continue a couple of chapters. But before we do that, I just wanted to catch up, find out what happened with you guys this weekend. Uh, don't forget to grab your favorite cup of something. I got a favorite cup of coffee. It's so funny. You guys are going to notice that, as time goes on, my nails, they just keep getting longer and longer, and the place that needs to be filled, and I've got a broken nail, and I'm like, I look like a ratchet mess. It's good to see you too, Chrissy. I hope you're doing well. For everyone that's here, as always, I like to find out from you, just so we can kind of gauge where everybody's at and so we can give one another support on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being, cool, calm, and collect, and 10 being like, I'm losing my shit. Let us know how you're doing. And for anybody that wants to offer support to somebody in the chat that maybe isn't, handling all this so well, be sure to do that. This is all about coming to community. Good morning, Scott. You finally got me live. What's going on? So I just wanted to catch you up really quickly. I want to find out, number one, about your weekends, because we were so busy. I mean, like, we went all over. No, I'm just kidding. John and our favorite thing to do over the weekend is go to the movies. And so I said to him yesterday, I was like, well, why don't we rent a movie and then we'll just have popcorn, and we had gotten M&Ms, and I said, and we'll just make the kitchen our concession stand. And he just looked at me like I was crazy, but then he goes, okay. And so I said, get our tickets online, walk into the kitchen, and then as we were leaving the kitchen, I said, let's walk together like we do in the movie theater. And yeah, I tried to just bring as much. Good morning, Joey. Hey, Jill. Nice to see you guys. We try to make, our lives as normally as we can as possible. And so our little date to the movies happened yesterday. And then another funny thing was, we bought a jigsaw puzzle. We never do puzzles, but I was like, you know what, John, we got a lot of time on our hands, and we can work on our relationship and maybe do like team building kind of stuff, and John is not this person. We're complete opposites. And so I'm always like relationships and growing and personal growth. And he's just like sports. I mean, he's your typical stereotype of a man. And I'm like your typical stereotype. And again, I'm saying stereotype of a woman. Good morning, Trudy. Hey, Chris. Nice to see you. Thanks, guys, for joining in. So we're like the typical stereotype of a relationship. I'm always like, let's talk. And he's always just like, do we have to? And so I said, let's get a puzzle so we can work on that together. And it was really fun, but what I noticed is that I'm just as bossy. Like, he's trying to, he hasn't really done it before, and he's trying to put the pieces together in the center. And I'm like, that's going to be really hard with all of these puzzle pieces. We have to start with the frame. And so I was like, find all the edges. And so he's finding everything else. He was like, well, this firework goes with, it'll go over here. And I was like, we need the edges. And so this nice, calm team building thing that I was working on realized that the only team building was happening was the team bossing. And so a lot of this is very eye-opening about yourself and relationships. And I was like, all right, Shari, just chill out. It's a friggin' jigsaw puzzle. And so finally halfway through, I started grabbing pieces that he was wanting that weren't the edge for him while I built the frame of the puzzle. So it was pretty amusing. And one last thing before we jump into this book, Love Yourself Happy, is as I mentioned in the nails, I just want to let you know that patience is going to be one of the things that, as you as you move through this, I mean, I know this is first world problems, but literally, because you guys know that I wear a wig, so I have to put my regular hair up behind. It took me 7 minutes to pick up a bobby pin from my drawer because these are too long, so I couldn't grasp it. And so I'm there and I'm like flipping it and trying to get it. And John's working. He works remotely from home now. And so I was just like, God damn it. And I was like, okay, all right, Shari, you're losing your shit over a bobby pin. So anyway, that's been some of the highlights from my life. What about from yours? Would love to know more about what's been happening in your life and ways that you're trying to keep the sense of normalcy with everything. Um, but and then we're going to talk at the end. But I'm going to get into story time because I know you guys have joined, or maybe have joined because either you're bored or you're like, no, I want to have a story. And I know I have some new people watching right now, and so I'm just going to repeat for all of you who have been here every day with me. The reason why I decided to do story time with Shari, and I haven't been reading from only my book, I've been reading a bunch of different books, but is because in fifth grade, I had the same teacher for fifth and sixth grade, Miss Wright, and she would read from the Judy Blume series. And so we would read Blubber and we would read Nothing Spare in fifth grade. And there was just some magic that happened for me during story time. And I would just sit and listen and be taken into another world. And I remember just looking forward to it every day. And so when all of this has happened and we've been called to slow down, there's also been this sense of me that's been called to bring joy, more joy and more of that. We need more fun right now because we're not going to escape all of that stuff that's happening inside, but we can still find the beauty and find the good and find the joy in the calling of the stillness. So for me, story time was it. Tammy, I did. I've been reading from the Little Miss series. You missed the last couple of times. I did Little Miss Bossy and Little Miss Greedy, I think. No, I don't remember the other one, but I will. Send me some books. So anyway, so I thought that it would be really great to bring that to us so you can slow down in your life. And so I just want to invite you right now, wherever you are, to just feel your butt in the chair, to turn off whatever is in the background, the news and other windows that are open. And this isn't about me and, oh, pay attention to Shari. It's literally about gifting yourself this time to just disconnect from everything and to be brought into a different world and to be brought into this present moment, to gift yourself with the joy of just allowing somebody to fill your soul in some way. While this isn't parts of it a happy book, I've already gone through the hard stuff, guys. So if you've read this book and you're like, oh, that's depressing, we are now at the rest stops of the book, so it's not as heavy. So anyway, I invite you to close your eyes. We're just going to bring ourselves to this moment and to take a deep breath in for 5 seconds. And then exhale for 5 seconds. And you can put your hands on your heart if that feels good to you. It does for me. Another inhale. And then just let go, exhale of anything that you're holding on to. And if you're feeling tension in your body, you can wiggle that out too. There is no right or wrong, there just is. And it's okay to feel what you feel. And then one more. And let go. And you can open your eyes or you can keep them closed. If you keep them closed, you won't see my ridiculous faces. I'm just kidding. All right. Hey. Okay. So I'm going to start with the book. And then at the end, I'm going to take questions and we can chat, have some community time together. But for now, let me put on my smart glasses. Oh my God, I'm so smart. Look at me. So again, love yourself happy. And we are on rest stop number 1. And for those who don't know, this is a journey back to you, which is why I thought it would be super important to read from this book because of being slowed down to face your shit. So rest stop number 1, face your shit. I'm sure you've read this quote. Oh, no. Every challenge you face in your life is there for you and divinely guided to you. I'm sure you've read this quote on a zillion inspirational memes, or one of your super positive friends told you this during some hurt you were experiencing. Annoying, believe me. I was not wanting to see how my ex-fiance's philandering ways were good for me in the long run. I certainly wasn't fond of the idea that this was divinely guided to me. I mean, what kind of God would want me to suffer and feel that kind of brokenness? I get it. I hear you. And the only thing that I can say to you is this, and you're probably not going to like it if you're currently going through something crappy. It is for you. Sorry, I'm one of those super positive and annoying people too. Isn't this apropos? And although I know that this is absolutely true, I also get how hard it is to see that right now in the midst of a crappy situation. But the reality is, every single difficult thing that I've been through has worked out for me. Now, of course, I didn't always see it clearly at the time because I was too busy trying to outrun it. I was too busy trying to push it away or curse it because I didn't want to face what it was trying to show me and whatever message, gift it was trying to give me. Screw that. I've been hurt enough. I'm certainly not going to purposely uncover more pain. What is meant for you to heal will always find its way. The part of you that needs to heal will show up in different ways. It can be that incessant whisper that's always reminding you that there's more for you, or that lover who keeps showing up in your life disguised as different people, breaking your heart again and again, trying to get you to heal something within, or it's chronic health issues demanding to get your attention. They always show up again. But I get it. It seems much easier to stuff down anything that doesn't feel comfortable. I understand that when things rise to the surface, it brings up stuff that you don't want to experience again. It feels easier to just not deal with it. But here's the thing. The more you stuff down what you're truly feeling, the more that bubbles just below the surface and ultimately will erupt at some point. You are a container. You can only hold so much before it begins to affect you emotionally, physically, and mentally. So while the idea of keeping your real feelings at bay sounds like a brilliant idea, the truth of the matter is that in the facing and dealing with it in that moment, it ends up being much more of a tremor than the impending, often devastating internal earthquake that can occur. The good news is, thank God, no matter if it's a tremor or that earthquake, you will make it through. I made it through. We all do. It's not really a question of if you'll make it through, but rather how you want to move through it. For many years, I went kicking and screaming through life. The constant pity parties, questions, and the woeful declarations of, why is this happening to me? Why am I being punished? I'm a good person. I don't deserve this. I've since come to skip that part because it causes nothing but prolonged suffering. I mean, no matter how hurt I was, what circumstance knocked me to my knees, I always discover the lesson and, yes, even the blessing in it. So, old Sherlock Holmes here began to finally catch on to this pattern and realize that first, it was much easier when these things popped up to just face them. I needed to face my shit because I certainly wasn't going to outrun it. Secondly, I needed to trust in what was happening because ultimately I would discover that it wasn't here to sever me, but rather serve me. Now, when these challenging moments arise, I no longer ask, why me? I ask instead, what have you come to show me? Here's the thing, beautiful friend. Can I call you that? You are built and are made of stars. You hold a magic and a power and a light that no person or circumstance can burn out. So while you believe that you can't handle one more thing, let me assure you that there is nothing that can shake you once you know who you really are and what you really can do. Perhaps you might be thinking, I can't go through this, Shari, one more time. I sometimes feel like I can't even breathe. Once you begin to understand your strength, you'll stop experiencing these situations to the extent and magnitude that you once did. They'll no longer suffocate and drown you. There'll be minor disturbances in the bigger picture of your life. You'll come to understand that they have, in fact, all been divinely placed there for you so that you can ultimately see and know your power. When you go from the mindset of victimhood to victor, you will stop seeing life as though it's punishing and devouring you. You'll open your eyes to the lessons, the teachers, and the hidden messages of love beneath it all. Fuel up, which is always the motivation at the end of the chapter. On the road to self-love, stop running. Muster up the courage to turn around and face what is simply trying to get your attention so you can heal it. And most importantly, as you'll come to find out later, It's only asking for your attention because it's simply wanting you to love those parts of you that you have forgotten to love. And as a super cool bonus, you'll come to find out that you are always being guided back to love, to you. Everything that happens and everyone you meet are guides to lead you there. So don't forget your angel radar. You'd be shocked. They are everywhere. Psst, go easy on yourself. All right, and then this is rest stop number 2, and this will be the last one we read, and then we'll chat after this. This is rest stop number 2, Sunday topped with guilt. I know a lot of you know about this guilt. Me and my Jewish family do. Coffee time. Hey guys, welcome to those of you who are just joining. We are reading today from Love Yourself Happy. Every day is a different book, which is great for all you people who have problems paying attention because we'll change it up every day. Sunday topped with guilt. Like clockwork, every Friday night the horn would honk outside of our house, and my sister and I would grab our weekend bags, say goodbye to our mom, and hop in the car with our dad for a fun-filled weekend. And just like clockwork, the guilt of leaving one parent for another would set in. Was my mom mad? Was she going to be okay alone? I mean, we were off to go have fun and she was stuck with nothing to do. Was she upset that we had fun with him? Then, just like clockwork, Dad would drop us off on Sunday night and the guilt of leaving him to go back home set in. Was he mad that he just spent an entire weekend entertaining us and now we were leaving him? Would he be okay? Was he mad that he only saw us twice a month? Did he think we didn't want to see him? I mean, I couldn't escape for a moment this guilt that felt like a cement block attached at my ankle that I was dragging around everywhere. Guilt. I'm not sure if it's because I was born into a Jewish family and we bleed guilt in every word, every sigh, every oy vey, or if it's something else. But man, oh man, I'm certain that guilt is responsible for at least 50 pounds on my body, or at least for these thighs. Guilt for loving a parent that made some big mistakes. Guilt for wanting everyone to be happy. Guilt for having compassion for somebody else doesn't like. Guilt for forgiving someone that someone else hasn't forgiven. I mean, guilt just has steered my ship for many years. And I'm not saying that it was my family's fault. Ultimately, we are responsible for our own feelings. But I do have to say, however, that when you're surrounded by guilt, it's kind of hard to not allow that to affect who you are and how you walk through the world. Perhaps it's not guilt for you. Maybe it's some other something that feels like quicksand and that you're dragging a dead body around. Whatever that something is for you, the road to self-love comes with the realization that you don't have to carry any of this around. You and I hold the key to releasing anything that is literally weighing us down. Now you might be thinking, how, Shari? The most important thing is the recognition that you've been dragging some lifeless, unimportant, not yours, dead body around with you. Once you can see that, then you're able to decide if you want to stay attached to it. The real problem is that so many of us don't even realize that we've been lugging these things around. We don't know that we carry guilt, anger, disappointment, etc. on our shoulders. We're so used to carrying it that it feels like it's just part of our load. But once you see it and understand that you no longer need to carry it, then it becomes a lot easier to cut that shit off. Fuel up. On the road to self-love, take a pause and a good look at what you have tied around your ankles. What have you been dragging through this life that might not be yours to carry? Then be willing to hand it back. To simply declare, I love you, but this is not my burden to carry. I hand it back to you with love, and I allow you to take responsibility with it as you see fit. For me, I am loving myself back to happy, and this ain't part of my outfit anymore. Psst. Go easy on yourself. All right, so that's today's selected reading from Love Yourself Happy, A Journey Back to You. And just so you guys know, I thought that this book was important at this time, and so if you go on Amazon, I lowered the price to 99 cents for the digital version, the Kindle version. So go and grab your copy. It's what I launched it at, but I felt like it was the right thing to do right now. So you can grab it for 99 cents, share it with other people for 99 cents. Hell, buy it for somebody else and send it to someone that you love. Reading ain't a bad thing, and I'm super proud of this. I mean, it took a lot to write it, and I'm giving myself a pat on the back because number one, I am a self-love coach, but also because the more and more you put, I would recommend journaling, by the way, but the more, this was a big ass journal for me. And it's funny because when you look back, you invite more stuff into your life to show up. And so there's been many layers since then of healing. And I'm kind of hoping that I can write some more. We'll see what happens. Oh, Chris says that my restaurant is still open, is starting to go through food that we're not going to use, and donated 50 pounds of food to our patrons that don't have a job right now. That's amazing. Thank you for that. I'd love to hear from you guys. Number one, like what you've been doing with your time. And there is no right or wrong. For myself, I have been feeling very up and down. Like I should be doing this and I should be doing that and I should be working on my website, but I have no web skill. Well, I mean, I have minimal, but it's one of those tedious technical things. And I'm like, ugh. And for those of you who know or don't know, I stepped away from my startup back in January. And so I've been in between work while I have my coaching business and my writing business. It's not enough consistency. And so I've been, on this new career path as well and trying to find where I could fit in the best. And so there's a lot that I could be doing right now. And I find myself very up and down with it. That's what I'm saying. Like, okay, today I'm going to do all this. And then my heart and mind and soul is like, no, I just kind of want to sit here, or I want to read this book, or I just want to lay on the couch. And the important thing that I've been doing is honoring what it is that I've been feeling. The one thing that I am gifting myself with, which is super important, is routine, is normalcy, because our lives have been flipped upside down in some way. And so bringing a sense of normalcy back to your life is so important. So for me, I have to go for my walks. For me, I have to have my coffee. For me, I still do my meditation. So I do something that was still of the familiar. And the amazing thing, by the way, about doing story time is that I put makeup on. And so then I actually feel like I'm being somewhat productive, even if after this I go and lay on the couch. But I feel, made up. John said to me today, he goes, oh, it's time for Shari to clown herself up. And so this for me is a sense of normalcy. And just curious if anybody has any thoughts or wants to share anything. On Saturday, I FaceTimed with my dad. John's like, let's call people. And I was like, okay. And so we FaceTimed my dad, and my dad had never FaceTimed before. And so it was super cute because he was holding the phone. He was like, you could tell, he was like, what do I do with this thing? And so he was holding the phone, and he's probably seeing us perfectly, but we were just seeing half of his face. And then he finally figured it out. And it was a few minutes later that he messaged us back, and he said, that really made my day, guys. Thanks for that. And, I recognize that a lot of us can get now into this normal routine of kind of isolating ourselves too. I mean, I'm with John, so we're together with our cats all the time. And so that could become a new sense of normal for us. But we also have to reach out to other people. And so in this sense of, keeping routine, or in this sense of creating new things in your life, I really encourage you to, even if it's kind of out of your comfort zone, to reach out to somebody that you haven't in a while. I know we've all been hearing that, but I know for myself, I'm like, yeah, I see them on Facebook, or I see them on Instagram. I see them somewhere, I could type to them. But an actual conversation was very different, and it lifted my spirits too. So I really encourage that for you. Hey, Bill. Thank you. I don't know. That's going to make me emotional. The sense of honesty, my story. I've been honest since I was a very young girl, and sometimes my honesty makes others very uncomfortable. But I've always felt like, even when I went into a relationship, like way before John, I would like put my shit right out there from the beginning. It was like, here I am, I'm needy, I'm crazy, I need a lot of attention. And yes, I wouldn't say those words exactly, but I was pretty, like, I wasn't the girl that was playing games. I wasn't like, I'm going to play hard to get, or I'm not going to call you for 3 days. I was like, hey, loved our date. It was because this idea of being somebody else, and then you finally start to show yourself, and then that somebody that they thought that they were falling for, you're not that person at all. But I'm not going to be perfect. There was about 2 years of my life where I did pretend I was someone else. I pretended that I was vegetarian for a year. And I always talk about this when I go speaking, is that for that entire year, I was like, shit, I just want a Big Mac. And then I pretended that I was into politics for a little while. And I was like, oh, somebody shoot me, stab me. I don't want to talk about this anymore. And then, so there was that time that I was not secure in myself. But for the most part, um, over the entirety of my life, I've always just put myself out there. And sometimes people don't get that. And sometimes it could negatively, well, I don't believe it's negative, but people can see it as not a good thing, and they don't agree with it. And maybe you don't get opportunities, or maybe opportunities are taken away from you, or maybe people think you're crazy. But whatever it is, I think that the best thing that we could ever do for ourselves and for one another is to be friggin' honest, is to share our vulnerabilities, is to step up as who we are. Because when we all show up in this way that's like with a mask and a facade, everybody then somehow is comparing themselves to people that aren't even really real in the first place. If we all put ourselves out there and share these aspects of ourselves, maybe there would be a lot less loneliness in the world. Maybe everybody would feel like they're on the same, at the same point in their lives, or on the same page. And that's kind of what I feel like is happening right now, without getting too much into, coronavirus, is that I feel like we've all been put on the same page. Okay, there's other stuff here. Jill, I'm recovering from pneumonia and pleurisy, so I'm staying in crafting and watching YouTube. First, number one, Jill, prayers for you to continue to feel better. And I love that you're being creative. I keep saying that too. I'm like, I'm going to learn a hobby. I'm going to learn to cook. But then I was like, well, I don't have enough ingredients to cook. And for me, my way of cooking is putting spicy red pepper. I mean, crushed red pepper on everything, because I'm like, well, it has flavor. So I think that's awesome. And I still keep telling myself I'm going to find myself a hobby. Christopher, I'm fairly an introvert and hate talking on the phone. I've changed a bit this week because I've reached out to so many people I normally wouldn't want to. I just want to take care of my peeps in any way that I can. Oh, you do? Okay, so I'm the same way. I went from being someone who sat on the phone nonstop, in teenage years, which I think a lot of us do, to being online for the last 10 years of my life. Has really made me socially, which might be strange for you as I sit here like, but socially, not awkward, what's the word? Just so I don't feel like I socialize as well. Before, I would be that person that would go up and speak to anybody and start conversation. And I've told the story before, but I remember a few years ago, it was New Year's Eve, and John and I were at a party, and he said, I'm going to go to the bar and get a drink. Stay here. And I found myself in the bathroom, just standing in the mirror, fixing my hair, giving enough time for him to come back, because I didn't feel comfortable just standing there and maybe having to talk to somebody. And I was never like that. I became that way because of literally only talking to a box. And so this idea of real conversation, I feel like I had lost that. And there's an aspect of me that still does. So talking on the phone, the point of that is the same for me. And so now this idea, like, and a lot of my Facebook friends or real friends in life, they like know if they've, tried to get in contact with me. I'm like, hey, listen, I don't really like talking on the phone. I don't really, and I'll get better. But I'm also easy on myself. I'm like, this is what you need right now. This is who you are. Don't beat yourself up for it, Bill, I think our honesty helps others realize their own dishonesty. That's pretty powerful, or at least that they too can be honest, and that's safe. Oh, Chris is drawing pictures for people. Oh, thank you. Your hobby's making people you right, and that. Oh, thanks. It's funny. I'm not gonna lie, because I'm honest. I've thought about this story time with Shari, and I'm like, are you just like there? We all have that monkey mind, and so I have my ego mind that's like, is what you're doing ridiculous? Like, are you even helping anybody, or are you just adding to the noise of what's out there? And then my heart says to my mind, hey, take a break. And my heart says, Shari, just do what I'm telling you to do. And so for me, and hopefully for you, and I'm not seeking answers, but this is just a moment in time. And this fills my heart. And so it's important to share that, because that I trust in my gut. I trust in my inner wisdom to say, just do it. Maybe I'm not saving the world right now, but if I could bring, some a smile to you for just a few minutes out of the day, then that is enough for me. So the last things that I will share with you before I go, and tomorrow is story time again, and whatever 80,000 posts I post. By the way, I know it becomes excessive because I see people and I'm like, wow, that's a lot of posts, and then I'm doing the same. And I just want to say that I got a lot of time on my hands, and so I hope you find them valuable, or if not, or laugh or whatever. So what was I just going to tell you? Oh yeah. So for those of you who know or don't know, I have a membership community called the Joy Spot on Facebook. It's a private group, and we do, weekly affirmations and videos, and we talk and blah, blah, blah. And so it's 30 days for free. So and then it's $19 a month afterwards. And so whether you have the funds or not, I encourage you to join. You can cancel. It's like, Amazon Prime, which don't tell anyone I have like 7 of those accounts, Amazon accounts, so I can get my free 30 days. I know I'm cheating the system, but whatever. But you can do that with my Joy Spot, is that you can sign up for it, get into our group for 30 days if you're looking for more connection. And then before it gets charged, you can cancel and get your booty out of there. My hope is that you'll want to stay in there because you'll have gotten connected to the Joy Tribe. But either way, there is no, there's no judgment. I just invite you in there. I spend a lot of time in there talking. We all, are a little tribe in there, getting to know one another. Thank you, Chrissy. I appreciate that. And then the last thing I'm going to say is, I keep saying the last thing, but I'm enjoying this time with you. I heard on the radio this morning with Ryan Seacrest, and I could just relate so much to it. And I'm curious if anybody out there that's in a relationship can relate to this. They were talking about how a lot of people that are in relationships, there's been really important conversations that you've been wanting to talk to your partner on, and your partner's been putting it off, and we'll talk about that later, and we'll talk about that later. And then they were talking about how now there is a shitload of time to talk about your relationship. And he was like, and I can't escape it. He was like, I go into the other room and it's still there in the other room. And it just reminded me of me and John, because no matter where we are, I'm like, let's talk about this. And last night when we were on the couch and we were just watching a comedy, and I said, would you know that much about me? And he was like, would you stop quizzing me about us? And I just realized, oh, this poor guy. I was like, he cannot get away from me wanting to talk about a relationship, talk about deeper things, trying to grow, and so I just found it really amusing, saying you cannot escape the relationship talk now. So if you are in one of those and you're the one who wants to talk, I don't want him to hear me say this, but give the other person a break. And if you are the person who is saying, I want to talk to you, can we? Give the other person a break and, give in sometimes. This is really a great time of growth. This is really a great time of self-reflection. And this is really a great time to be able to show the other person just how much you love them by compromising just a little bit. I'm going to tell him this later. All right, guys. I'm wishing you the most beautiful Monday. Don't forget, at the end of every day in my group, Sharing with Shari, which is it's actually Shari Alyse, but the Facebook / thing, my URL is Sharing with Shari. At the end of every day, we seek out our bright spots. So don't forget to come over there and share with us your bright spot in the day. Look for them all day long. There is beauty. There is magic. There are blessings in all of this. Take good care of yourselves and one another. Be safe and stay home. I love you all so much. Thanks for joining me today, and thank you for being my friends, and thank you for being part of Story Time with Shari. All right, guys. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.